You have seen this happen, maybe not on a farm, but somewhere. A group of people, exhausted and fed up, finally rise against the person at the top. For one bright morning, everything feels possible. And then, slowly, almost politely, the new leaders begin to look exactly like the old ones. You probably think you already know why. Power corrupts. Good people go bad once they taste control. The wrong animal simply ended up in charge. But the real answer is far stranger, and George Orwell buried it on the very first pages of a short book about farm animals, in a single, quiet moment that almost no reader notices the first time through. That moment is not the violence. It is not the lies. It is the milk. Let us go back to the beginning. An old boar named Old Major gathers the animals of Manor Farm in the barn one night and tells them about a dream. In that dream, the animals are free. No more whips, no more slaughterhouse, no more working their whole lives to feed a drunken farmer named Mr. Jones. Major gives them a single, beautiful idea. Whatever walks on 4 legs or has wings is a friend. Whatever goes on 2 legs is an enemy. He teaches them a song, and he dies a few days later. And the dream outlives him. This is the part everyone remembers fondly, the hope. And here is where it helps to know that Orwell was not inventing a fairy tale. He was writing a coded history of the Russian Revolution of 1917. Old Major is the dreamer, part Marx and part Lenin. The rebellion that follows when the hungry animals drive Jones off the farm in a sudden burst of fury is the fall of the old order. The pigs, being the cleverest animals, take charge of organizing the new world. And at first, it works. The animals rename the place Animal Farm. They paint 7 commandments on the wall of the barn. The most important is the last one. All animals are equal. They bring in the harvest faster than Jones ever could. They are working for themselves now, and they can feel the difference in their own bodies. So when does it go wrong? Most readers point to the end. The pigs walking on 2 legs, the pigs drinking whisky and wearing clothes. The famous final scene where the other animals look from pig to man and can no longer tell which is which. That feels like the betrayal. That feels like the moment the dream died. It is not. The dream died in chapter 3, and Orwell tells you so plainly that your eye slides right past it. After the first harvest, the cows are milked, and there are 5 buckets of frothy milk standing in the yard. The animals look at it with interest. Some of them remember that milk used to be mixed into their feed. What happens to it? Napoleon, the large pig who has begun to take command, plants himself in front of the buckets and tells the others to never mind the milk. Get on with the harvest, he says. The hay is waiting, and the animals go. When they come back that evening, the milk has disappeared. That is it. That is the whole tragedy, compressed into a few sentences. No one was killed. No law was broken. The animals simply accepted without a single question that the milk was not their concern. The biographer Bernard Crick, who wrote the first authorized life of Orwell, argued that Orwell's genius was never in shocking you. It was in showing you something you had already half agreed to without realizing it. The pigs did not seize the milk by force. They took it by assuming it was theirs, and by counting on everyone else to be too busy, too tired, and too trusting to object. The revolution was not lost to a tyrant. It was lost to a shrug. Why does that small theft matter so much more than the violence that comes later? Because everything that follows is just the milk scaled up. Once the principle is established that the pigs deserve a little more because they do the thinking, Every other privilege becomes logical. The apples go to the pigs next, then the best sleeping quarters, the farmhouse beds, then the right to make every decision while the others vote on nothing. Each step is defended with the same calm reasoning, and each step is accepted, because the first one was. Notice who does the defending. It is not Napoleon. It is a smooth, persuasive pig named Squealer, who can, as Orwell writes, turn black into white. When the animals grow uneasy, Squealer explains that the pigs do not even like milk and apples. They eat them only to stay healthy, for the good of everyone. Science has proven it, he says. If the pigs failed in their duty, Jones would come back. And the word Jones, the memory of the old fear, ends every argument. Do you want Jones back? No animal ever does. So the milk stays gone. This is the part of the book that should make you uncomfortable, because it is not really about pigs. The historian Robert Conquest spent his career documenting what actually happened in the Soviet Union, the famines and the purges and the show trials, in a landmark study of the terror under Stalin. And what Conquest described in cold archival detail, Orwell predicted in fable years earlier. The moment that mirrors Conquest's research most exactly comes when Napoleon's dogs, the 9 he raised in secret from puppies, drag terrified animals in front of the crowd to confess to crimes they could not have committed, and then tear out their throats. The animals who survive creep away in horror. But they do not revolt. They have already learned, back when the milk vanished, that this is simply how things are now. Here is the question that the book is really asking you. At what point should the animals have stopped it? Not at the executions. By then, it was far too late, and resistance meant death. The only moment when stopping it would have cost almost nothing was the moment by the milk buckets. One animal asking out loud, "Where is our share?" That was the whole window. It was open for about a paragraph, and then it closed forever. Orwell understood this because he had watched it happen to real ideals in real time. He had gone to Spain in 1936 to fight fascism, and he had seen the revolution there devoured from the inside by the very people who claimed to lead it. He came home with a conviction that haunted everything he wrote afterward. The danger to a good cause is rarely the obvious villain at the gate. It is the trusted friend who, very early and very quietly, asks you to look the other way just this once. The writer Christopher Hitchens, in his study of why Orwell still matters, made a sharp point about this. Orwell's targets were never only the dictators. They were the ordinary, intelligent people who knew better and chose comfort instead. The animals of the farm are not stupid. The horse Boxer is the strongest and most loyal creature there, and his answer to every doubt is to work harder and to repeat that Napoleon is always right. His loyalty is genuinely moving. It is also exactly what dooms him, because when he finally collapses from overwork, the pigs sell him to the knacker, the man who boils horses down for glue, and they use the money to buy whisky. Boxer trusted the milk to take care of itself. The milk bought the rope that hanged him. So the revolution was doomed from the first page, but not for the reason the phrase suggests. It was not doomed because revolutions always fail, or because people are naturally wicked. The biographer D.J. Taylor, who traced how Orwell composed the book during the dark middle years of the Second World War, noted that Orwell did not write it out of despair. He wrote it as a warning, which only makes sense if disaster was avoidable. The doom was conditional. It depended on the animals doing one specific thing, again and again, until it became a habit too deep to break. That thing was looking away. Watch how the 7 commandments on the barn wall change over the course of the book. No animal shall sleep in a bed, becomes no animal shall sleep in a bed with sheets. No animal shall kill any other animal becomes no animal shall kill any other animal without cause. The animals are sure the words used to be different, but they cannot quite remember, and there is no record except the wall itself, which the pigs control. This is how history is stolen, not in one dramatic burning, but one added phrase at a time, counting on the fact that you were not paying close attention and cannot prove what you thought you knew. And then comes the last commandment, the one that erases all the others. By the end, there is only a single line left on the wall. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. It is the most famous sentence Orwell ever wrote, and people quote it as the punchline, the grim joke at the finish. But it is not the joke, it is the receipt. It is the milk finally written down in plain sight after years in which everyone agreed not to mention it. So think again about the movements you have watched curdle, the bright morning that became a new boss. You assumed, like most people, that it went wrong at the end when the masks came off. Orwell is telling you to look earlier. Look for the milk. Look for the small, reasonable, easily ignored moment when someone you trusted asked you to never mind something that was rightfully shared, because there was important work to do, and surely they knew best. That is the page where it was decided. Everything after was only the working out. You have seen this happen, and now you know it does not begin with a tyrant on two legs. It begins with 5 quiet buckets in a farmyard and a whole crowd of good and tired creatures choosing, just this once, to get on with the harvest. That is where the revolution was lost. Not on the last page, on the first one. And that is the colophon.